Hello, everybody. Alicia Medlin here with 5 Elements of Wholeness. I am so excited today. We have an amazing mastermind with Philip Stenger, and we are going to just learn so much about radical self-care today. But first, I want to introduce Philip. He is the creator of Studio Spotlight 9, which I have been interviewed on. So that was a really awesome experience. And he's gone confidently from a hospital bed to thriving with his own online stage. His intention is to help other people be courageous and confident to take control of their own lives. So I am so excited to have Philip here. Philip, will you introduce what you are teaching today?
Of course. Okay, so I'll kind of tell a little story, here at the beginning to kind of bring us into it. So it's been about 2.5 years since I received a double organ transplant.
Wow.
I know most people don't really go through that. It's just not a normal thing. But in my case, it was necessary. And I look back on it and I think, wow, because I can at least still partially identify how it felt physically at that point. And I can honestly say, wow, the difference from then to now is it's night and day. But that doesn't just happen because. There are steps that have to be taken to get there. So it took about, it was about 3.5 years from when I found out, hey, dude, your kidneys are not functioning well. And I'd been a type 1 diabetic since I was 7 years old. A little kid, legitimately had dealt with it for most of the life that I could remember. And there's bits and pieces before I was 7, or it's like, ooh, I remember this super cool thing and all that. But, before then, it's like, I don't remember a ton prior to that. So I have to go through all this round of testing and stuff, to even qualify to be able to get a transplant, because it doesn't work in a situation of, okay, you need a transplant, come down to the hospital at 2.
Right.
No, it doesn't really work that way. So there's just this whole ridiculous barrage of tests that you have to go through. I remember one of them, you have to do a heart stress test because they want to figure out, hey, when you're in surgery, and it's a lengthy, generally 8 to 10 hour long kind of surgery that occurs. Well, they go, oh, okay. We just want to make sure your heart can actually handle the stress of this occurring. So generally, someone in my situation where kidneys not working well, so your body's not filtering your blood properly, they tend to inject you with this, I don't exactly know what it is, but this fluid where they can kind of visualize it.
A dye.
Like a dye going through you, where they
Mm-hmm.
can visualize it. Then they can also monitor your heart rate because it speeds up your heart rate kind of to the point where they need it. So anyways, I'm sitting there, I check in for this appointment and they call my name. I walk back and they just kind of look sideways at me. They're like, so we're not usually used to someone like you being here. Like, oh, what do y'all mean? Well, I mean, just looking at you, you're about 6 foot tall, right? Yeah, just about, give or take. I'm getting older, so I'm shrinking. But, at that point, it's probably about, I don't know, 180 to 190 pounds. They look at me and go, before we inject you with this stuff that speeds up your heart, do you think you could get on the treadmill? Yeah, got this. So they put me on the treadmill. They just kind of start it, at a slow speed. It's going. And nothing's happening. My heart's not going, rate's not going up at all. They're like, speed up the treadmill? Yeah. Speed it up. Go ahead. I speed it up. I go for another 10 minutes. They're like, oh, your heart rate's up, but you're not it's not super high. Are you on your feet a lot? And at that point, I'm like, yeah, my job, I'm usually on my feet all day long for my job and put in 20,000 plus steps in a day. And you need a kidney transplant? What? So anyways, they go, after another 10 minutes, they speed it up even more. Another 10 minutes, they're like, yeah. So your heart's still not up at that, level we're looking for. We figure it's safe to say, yeah, you're good. Like, you'll be fine to have this surgery, no issue whatsoever. And that was really a moment where I went, huh. So I had, this issue with my kidneys and my pancreas not working since I'm diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
Kidneys were vaguely working, a little bit. Pancreas deader than a doornail, not working whatsoever. So two major things, which for a long time before that, I looked at it and went, man, I am just broken. But I was on this treadmill for a good 30 minutes. My heart rate still was not anywhere near ridiculously high.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, there's something here. I'm not completely broken. Now, this kidney and this pancreas, yeah, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but there's something right going on here. And then that was kind of even more driven home. So when you actually qualify for the list, you have all your tests done and you go in, and it's like this, I don't know, like 6 or 7 hour long day. You go to the hospital and they kind of introduce you to, hey, here's what life's kind of going to look like after it's transplant. You're going to need to do this. Don't do this. They got all these PowerPoint presentations and stuff going. So we go, and I just sit through these things, and I'm like falling asleep during these presentations. So after that, you have what I like to refer to as this revolving door of doctors come in, because this transplant team consists of people that have different specialties. And in my case, I needed someone that specialized in kidneys. I needed someone that worked with the pancreas part of it. I needed people that work with you beforehand, people that work with you after, the surgeons that are going to actually take part in doing the surgery. And they all have to either give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So again, during this process, so a lot of them are walking in, kind of how doctors are. They have their like clipboard and
Charts, yeah.
their charts. So they all walk in the door, kind of looking down, look up at me. Whoa, dude, you look healthy. Like, they're like, well, obviously your blood work and says you're not, but you look good. And they kind of just spend each a few minutes in there, and they can't guarantee you an answer that day because they all kind of have to meet together to come up with a consensus. Like, hey, do we think this person's good for surgery or not? Mm-hmm. Like every single one of them was like, yeah, you're going to be an excellent candidate for this. So it was a week or two later, I got a phone call. They said, congratulations, you've been accepted to be on this transplant list. So after that, it was about a year of receiving calls. They tell you straight up, your phone rings, answer it. And if you can't answer it, like, listen to your messages, because if we call, we have got to hear from you. Mm-hmm. So, because, well, if this transplant's happening, get to the hospital like yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I went through 3 or 4 of the phone calls of them saying, Kate, we just want to let you know that there's a possibility, that this could happen. But, it's kind of like a, hey, just keep within range where you can answer your phone if we call you again. Like, keep your ringer on. Don't fall asleep with it on silent or something. Mm-hmm. So 3 or 4 calls, but then they call back and say, okay, so the organs are actually going to go to this person that they were a better match for. Okay, great. But eventually it kind of wears on you. You go, man, mm-hmm. Is it going to be my turn? So I get one. They have me come to the hospital. And we're there. I'm just kind of waiting in this hospital room, like, okay. And they keep telling, so kidney and pancreas are some of the last organs they kind of take, from this unfortunate circumstance that happened to this other person, where they're donating their organs are being taken, because they go with the more fragile stuff first, like your hearts. That's going to be like first, just
Right.
it's got to be. So after, well, no, it was about half a day, they come to me. So the kidney looks great, but we went in, the pancreas just kind of was not in the state that we need it to be in order to transplant that. So we're going to send you home. And that was kind of a, moment of, wow, this sucks. In that moment, though, and bless my wife, she is so smart, said, okay, because she's obviously in a situation of like, dang, I wish this would have happened too. But she was able to think outside of that for at least a minute to go, we both need some, because they released me. My wife had been there with me, the whole time. They released me, and it was just getting dark outside, and it was September when this is happening. So it's 7-ish o'clock. It's like, well, restaurants and stuff are still open. Let's go get something good that we both really like for dinner, so we don't sit here and like dwell on, that this didn't work out today. So we went and got some amazing sushi. So good. And while we still felt some of that disappointment, we could honestly look at it and go, well, it's not the end of the road, because they're going to keep calling. So it ends up happening. They call us. I mean, it seriously took a good 6 months, longer at that point, where it happened. And I actually wrote a book on this. But what ended up happening, transplanted organs were great. Like, as good of matches as you could possibly have. I wake up after the surgery occurs. The surgery was actually shorter than normally is. It's only about 6 hours. I know, only 6 hour surgery, right? So this happens, and I wake up. I anticipated, man, I'm going to feel like trash when I wake up. And I did, but not in the way I anticipated. So my lung had been punctured during this surgery. And I was like, I woke up, I was like, I know I was going to be hooked up to a bunch of stuff, but I have oxygen from my nose since they punctured my lung. And they explain it to me, and I go, man, this sucks. And then within the next week, another major thing happened where I needed another surgery to fix that. So I ended up spending a good month in the hospital from that transplant surgery. I finally get out. And it was almost like, okay, what now? In more than one direction. It's like, well, I can't really do much at the moment because I just had these organs transplanted with this ridiculous surgery, and then a few more surgeries to fix things. So I was like, okay, I can make it between my bed and the hallway. It's hard to kind of go back and forth. But it ended up working out. And that time, there's a lot of time to sit there and go, okay, what's next? Because I had sat there the whole time for the previous, goodness, three-ish years. The entire thought process was survive, 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 survive. Only goal is survive. But now it was, I don't have to have that as the forefront of my mind. Because now I have to do way less in order to make that occur. I still have to take a ridiculous sum of medications twice a day, but that's like, oh, okay, I'm going to sit down for 5 minutes and okay, let's have this medicine, drink some water. This one, drink some water. That's nothing. So like 10 minutes a day, great. I can handle that. And it's so automatic. Like it just happens. So I went into a space of, okay, what now? What is next? I honestly didn't know. And I didn't really know how to get there. It was like I hit what I had considered to be the mountaintop. The transplant happened. But that was like the end goal. But at that point, I got it. I was 32 years old. Like, most people don't think, okay, hit 32, now I'm good. That's the end, right? Nah, most people are generally live more than twice that long. By decades. There are people going to their 80s and 90s on a regular basis. Okay, what do I need to do? So the first thing I really thought of was, what kind of gets me going? That's going to be different for me, to you, to anybody else. No one's is going to be the exact spot on same. This doesn't work. Because, Alicia, you could tell me, hey, this is all the stuff I do that works for me and gets me going and helps me through my day and helps me accomplish everything I want. And I could try it all and go,
right.
For me, like, it's awesome that it helps you. And it would be vice versa the same. Everything that I do, you might go, well, it all sounds great, but
it doesn't float my boat. Yeah.
Float my boat, exactly. So the first thing I really thought of that was easy, like I am laying in this bed in my room. And I have this, like IV pole thing next to me because, well, I didn't have like IVs in my arm. I still had a feeding tube because you have to get your nutrition supplemented at that point, because after a surgery like that, you don't actually like eat like food to your mouth the normal way for a good minute, let's say.
Yeah.
I was like, first thing was that I think, and this can apply to everybody, the style of it's going to be different. But you've got to find the music that does it for you. And I know so many people have told me like, oh, because I'm a religious person. I mean, I'm in Utah. There's a very common church here that I do happen to be a member of. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, listen to, these hymns or these songs by people kind of associated there. I would listen and I would go, yeah, it's nice. It just it doesn't like light that spark or flip the switch. I am super glad it does for others. For me, no. While I still appreciate it and I can still sing it while I'm at church, it's not hey, I can walk through my day with this song in my head, singing it, moving to it. I couldn't do it with that. So that's one of the, I think, simplest levels we can go to. Music is everywhere. Turn on the radio.
It's universal. Yeah. And it's so healing.
It's so healing, but you've got to find what fits you. You've got to find what fits you. There's something about it. And I've kind of been playing with this the last, month or so, where, because we all get those times where we go, okay, this is kind of bothering me. Or even those days where you go, I feel off, but I don't really, know the reason. I get those, on a semi-regular basis. It's like, I feel down or, whatever it might be. I can't put my finger on, hey, this is exactly why. It happens. So I decided, hey, what I got to try is how can I pull myself from that? There's because to me, there's this big part of radical self-care that is like this combination of like the physical world we live in, what's outwardly around us, also what's inside of us. Because there are certain things that I know, and it's going to be different for everybody again, but I think almost universally people can identify with this, where when you hear something that strikes you, you feel it. Like it's like just pulls right into your heart. And you feel it, like the goosebumps stand up on your arms. You just feel it. You go, oh, and it just like stops you. Those things are important. So if I'm in that situation of, okay, I'm feeling down today, something's off. I can't describe what it is, or even if I can describe what it is, it doesn't really make a difference. I've got to get music on as soon as I can that I know I can feel, because it's going to bring me to a different place. Because both of them are a feeling. I feel that, but I feel this music or this talk or this speech, whatever it might be. And sometimes we get those dark feelings, where that's kind of drag us down. But then we have those other ones where I feel like are more a light. Not like light weight wise, but light as in like, hey, here's a light.
Right. Enlightening.
And I don't remember who said it, but a long time ago. And it's like almost like a duh quote. And it's like, the darkness will always outshine the light, or the light will always outshine that darkness. Every time. Like, it's like, duh, I can take a flashlight outside in the middle of the night and it lights my way. So if that speech or whatever music it is I'm listening to is that light, and that feeling is the dark that I don't quite know how to get through, what if I have that light to pull me through? So I kind of experimented with that, like, how fast can this actually pull me out into a different place? Because I've had it before in, previous years of my life where I could be in that dark place for months, weeks, days, months, you name it. I can't pull myself out. There's nothing wrong with having help pulling yourself out. And if all I have to do is go, okay, all right, Apple Music, let's start this playlist. Boom. How fast can I come out of it? And this last week, I actually timed it. It was just under 5 minutes. 5 minutes, like a feeling I could have had for days. Less than 5 minutes. Gone. And not gone in a, hey, I'm burying this. Hey, I'm hiding this. I don't want to deal with this. It's like, no, I dealt with it. I felt it. I sat in it. I don't want to sit in it anymore. Let's go. And I know you've got to have music that does it for you too. Or it's just like, it's just like that. It's almost like that unspoken thing where as soon as it's on, it's like, I feel it. I know it's there. I feel different. That changes everything.
Right. And it's interesting. I used to be a huge music listener. And then when I was in the middle of my divorce, I I couldn't listen to music anymore because it brought so many memories of my past experience. And so instead of listening to music, I got a notebook out and started journaling. And that's like my go-to. That's what moves me. And I mean, my kids will attest to, like, Mom, you never listen to music. And it's like, yeah, I don't, because I have found something else that fulfills me more than music did.
I love it.
Yeah. And I think everybody's different that way. Sometimes
Absolutely.
it's not that I don't like music. I do. In fact, if I do have an energy that's like stuck and it's not moving, I'll turn on dancing music and I'll dance. And dancing will help move the emotion so then I can acknowledge it, feel it, forgive it, learn from it, and then move on.
Yeah. That's so important to note. And I think that's even helping me understand something that I've experienced even more. Because what I found is, so I'll play music or do something else that really takes me to that place. I'm like, okay, now I got some power here. Like almost like that, stick the flagpole in the ground. Like, this is my place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because what I found is, if I have something like that, where it's like almost like flipping that light switch, creativity flows like no other.
Yes.
Like, so fast. Like last night, me and my two boys, have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and my wife has a lot of things that with her job that she needs to be at pretty late, because she deals with arts and music. There's a bunch of concerts and stuff at all the schools around here going on. So like, she's going to a bunch of these things. So it's me and my two sons last night. My older son needed a new pair of shoes. I'm like, okay, hey, let's go buy some shoes. So I ended up getting him an awesome pair of shoes and he really liked. They fit him. They weren't like, oh, hey, here's $20 shoes that are going to fall apart next week. Because then it's like, we got to get more shoes. So we went into Kohl's and ended up buying them. They have a fairly sizable shoe department. There weren't a lot of people in the store. It's probably 7 o'clock. We buy them. Since we're getting here coming up on November, when we were leaving to leave the store, it's dark outside already. Like, and they got, this time of year, they got holiday music kind of already starting up.
Oh yeah.
The Christmas music's kind of already going. They were one of the first places I've experienced it at this year, this early. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, they had it going. What I found interesting was, it wasn't so loud inside the store. It was right as you walked up to the door outside that they had it. Like, you can have if it's raining, you can still stand outside the door, but you're safe. You're not going to get poured on. That's the spot that it was super loud. So we buy the shoes, we walk out. And my kids hear it again. They'd heard it walking in. And they just decided, you know what? We're just going to dance. So they were moving. I said, we're just going to dance. And I was like, years ago, I would have gone, I don't know about this dancing thing. I'm shy. I don't want people to see me, right? But now it's like, I don't care. And I know that's one of the phrases I've used a bunch over the last, I think, 2020 and 2021 particularly. Mm-hmm. It's like, if someone thinks I'm a fool for dancing out there in front of the store with my kids, great. Let them think that. It's not going to bother me. Because what really mattered there? I had fun with my kids.
Right.
Like, so much more important.
Well, and I just want to cut in right there. That is part of radical self-care. When you can step out of codependency of worrying about what other people think about you, and you let go of how that ties to your identity, your value, and your purpose, then you're able to step more authentically into your life, which is part of radical self-care. Because when you are authentic with yourself, then you are in integrity with your mission and your purpose, which gives you the ability to, fill your cup up so that you can serve and help other people.
Yeah. And that's seriously, I have found that so much. Because in the last, I don't know, we're probably coming up on 2 years. I mean, we're almost to 2022 now, of where it was like, okay, because with the whole transplant thing that happened, I mean, I had a few more hospitalizations along the way. But we're coming up on 2 years now where I haven't had to be in the hospital. Had none of that. Where I've been able to wake up in the morning and go, huh, oh, I feel good. To the point where now I'm getting used to feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
And what good is for everybody else totally looks different. Because for me, it's so distinctly tied to physical because of all the things I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Where the physical part of it leads to the mental part of it for me as well, because just my experience through things. Other people, I have no doubt, it goes the other way, where the mental part then leads to the physical, which I know I've experienced as well. So thinking about that, I had an experience, and we're almost at almost 2 years, like I was saying. And so you always have in your contacts your transplant coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
They're a nurse, like way leveled up, from just saying, hey, someone's a nurse. It's like they've done this extra thing and this extra thing and this extra thing and experienced this and done all this to be able to be in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have him in the particular coordinator for me in my phone as a contact, and he'll call me every now and then, just times like, hey, let's kind of adjust this medicine to this. We're going to send in the new prescription, and, or if I have questions, I call him, leave a message, he'll call me back. But so I had him call me once, almost 2 years ago. So at that point, I'm finally feeling good. I don't have these infections going on. He calls me, he's like, so your blood work we had drawn this morning does not look good in the slightest. Let's have you come to the ER and we'll figure it out from there. I'm going to let them know that you're on your way. So you just tell them your name when you get to the desk, and they'll already have something there waiting, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, so I'm volunteering at this event that day, and he calls me. So I tell the people, like, hey, this is kind of what's going on. They're like, yeah, please go. Like, take care of yourself, go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to disappoint them, but also knew, hey, this is kind of important. I'm not putting this off. So they're like, no, please go. So I'm driving there. And I'm like, this doesn't feel the same as the last 2 times I had to go to the emergency room. But at that same point, that negative adversary, I use his name because I'm not afraid to. I call him Satan.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing right there where some people say, I don't want to say his name. I don't want to do this. I don't want to tempt him. I'm different. So on this drive, because I was about 25 minutes away from where the hospital was, because I can't just go. I mean, I could just go to any hospital. Then it would be like, hey, your records need to be sent. Hey, all this stuff. Let's go to the one that has all of this set and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
About a 25-minute drive to get there. I'm driving there. Satan's really trying me. He's just like coming at me, right? And I remember driving and thinking, look, I look down and to the left because, he's down that way. He doesn't belong that way. and the left is the past. So I'm looking that way. Like, look, I know the only thing you understand is fear. It's the one thing you use more than anything else. Because happy, you don't know what that is. Satisfied, you don't get that one either. And as I'm talking down to him, I can just feel him, like it's like boiling over. I'm like, how dare you say that to me? I'm like, I can say that to you all I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. Until, and I kept talking down to him until he finally just went, and it wasn't it was just like, you could almost feel that, when like you could hear a child with a high pitched scream of like, no, right? Almost like he did that. Left. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. Like, you will not bring me down with you. So, I was over probably about 10 minutes span. Like, he's gone. He'll come back, but now I know how to handle him even better.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the hospital. I'm like, this feels different. Like, I don't feel bad. Like, physically, I feel good. So park the car, walk in, go up to the desk, and they ask for my ID and everything to figure out who I am. Person grabs my ID, looks at me and goes, hold on, where did you park? I went and parked in the bottom level of the parking garage because it was full, and I walked all the way up here. He's like, what they're telling me, you would not have been able to do that. Like, let alone like be standing. Like, you could not do that all on your own based on what they're telling me.
Mm-hmm.
How about we draw your labs again? Good idea. So we take me back, draw my labs again. About 10 minutes later, he's like, come on back. So, and he tells me, yeah, go home. Like, you're fine. Something, must have been screwed up with how your labs were drawn earlier, to have given that result. Because he's like, did you feel any different, like miserable earlier today when they did this? No? Yeah, something had to be screwed up with either how they drew them or how, the tests, happened.
Mm-hmm.
So go home, you're fine. Went home. I looked at it and went, dang. On that drive there, if I had let Satan pull me down, I bet you something would have been wrong with me. It wouldn't have been as miserable as what these labs were saying, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But there would have been something. My blood pressure is sky high, something where they would go, we got to have you stay for a little while. At that point, but it was like, boot Satan to the curb, decide, nope, I got more power than him, because we all do.
Right.
And everything was good. It wasn't just, oh yeah, you're good. It was like, no, I feel good. Like, let's go. And I thought about that for a while and said, dang, there are things happening that so many well-meaning people, no doubt, over time have told me that possibly I took the wrong way, that possibly was not worded exactly how they intended to, so it didn't come off the right way,
Mm-hmm.
where I didn't understand things.
Right.
I needed to be. And I asked myself, what if I ask myself, what if more? Because I've been taught for so long, you don't ask yourself that. You're only asking for trouble. Am I? Am I really? What if I took that question, what if? I didn't look to the past with it because I can't do anything back here. It's over. It happened. But this way, I can have so much control over what I do
Mm-hmm.
in the future. What if I sit there and think, oh, this would be awesome to create? This would be fun. And I could take it. I could play with it. And it's fun. I think that's the one thing I had lacked for so long. That fun part.
Mm-hmm.
Asking myself a question that I had more than one person tell me not to ask. It's fun. And the thing about it is there is no right or wrong with it. There is no failure with asking myself, what if towards the future? Because I can sit there and I can play with it. I can envision it. I can create whatever I want with it in my own mind. But then the next day I can go, maybe this piece of it doesn't work. What if I do this with it? Ooh, what if I do this with it?
Mm-hmm. So there's a language that I use with my clients with this. And I think and you get to correct me if I'm wrong, but what I think you're saying is that you get to be in a space of curiosity.
Yeah.
And just like it says in the good books, that we get to be as a little child. We get to learn how to be like a little child. And what better way to be like a little child than to step into curiosity? Because when we step into curiosity, we step out of shame, we step out of guilt, we step out of fear, and we literally learn how to become co-creators with God because we're curious on what we can do differently. And it helps us stay present.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so cool because I look at it and I go, man, I asked myself for a long time things about, was this coming from God or is this from me? Right? But realistically, if God and I are like on the same wavelength, I can communicate with him. He communicates back to me. If it's coming from him directly or from me through what he's blessed me to be able to do with, it doesn't matter. It does not make a difference whatsoever.
It all has to do with your intention.
Absolutely. And if my intention is, yep, I am helping bring people more to him, done. Like that's the way to go.
Exactly.
There's nothing bad that goes there.
Right. Well, and as you've been talking, I've been taking notes. And so the things that I'm hearing from you as radical self-care is you're talking about music, listening to music, right? Listening to uplifting and enlightening talks or podcasts, dancing, moving your body, moving those emotions out so that you can express yourself. Laughing's a huge one. That distills so much negative energy and tension.
Yeah.
And then taking back your personal power by, acknowledging the negative by saying, hey, I can see you. I don't want you. Get out of my life. And taking back your personal power is huge. That's a powerful radical self-care there. And then don't take things personally. What people say to you, what they do, how they behave around you, that doesn't have anything to do with your value, your worth, and your identity. And so taking things personally, we literally tie it to our identity, and then we are in self-betrayal, which is definitely not radical self-care. And sometimes that's hard to do. Like, what are some tools that you would suggest for people that are learning how to take back their power and not taking things personally? Like, what do you do to help you stay in that space of radical self-care and not take it personally?
Okay. So, and honestly, I discover things the way I discover things. It's not bad, but I feel like it's kind of gone backwards because that's one of the things I feel like I've discovered later. It was the bigger things first and then the smaller things after that I was able to figure out. So the first thing I really think about is when you're feeling something, no matter what it is. And a lot of times we're going to feel negative things. It happens. It's part of life. It's
Right,
part,
because we're in a fallen state.
right.
Exactly.
It's part of our experience here. The first thing I would highly suggest is do what you can to not personally attack somebody else because of somewhere that you perceived that maybe they wronged you.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, look, it's, have I wronged people before? Yeah, sure have. I'm not perfect. Have I been wronged by people before? Yeah, they're not perfect. We're all going to do it. And we have to sit there and go, yeah, I messed up in that, that singularity of that moment. That's not my future.
Your experiences aren't who you are. Yeah.
No, they're not. Experiences help you understand who you are.
Yes.
Experience don't create you.
Exactly.
So I would highly recommend people, when you feel something, just feel it, acknowledge it. It's here. Because that's step number one. Because if you don't acknowledge it, you can't do anything with it.
Right. Well, and acknowledging it and then taking accountability for your part in it.
Correct.
Even if it's a 0.00001%, you're still taking accountability for your part in it, whether that's reacting or how you feel or whatever that looks like.
Right. And I think there's like this negative stigma on reacting to things.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we're people, we react to things. We're reactionary beings. It happens. It's part of the experience we have, but it's how we react to things. Like I've had experiences in my life where it's like, I wish I had more of this person's time. Instead of sitting back and waiting and going, when are they going to give me their time? Why don't I set something up and ask them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
If
you
I
take
want more of their
initiative.
time, go get it.
Right, right.
I think that's such a big thing of step ever so slightly outside your comfort zone. Even if it's your big toe by a partial inch that you step outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Get outside of it a little bit. Feel it. What does it feel like? I mean, acknowledge, what does this feel like to me? Because
Right.
that's like step number one. Acknowledge what you feel. Accept that it's there. Then you have the power to choose, hey, what am I going to do with this?
Right. You can either hold on to it like as evidence, right?
Yep.
Or you can forgive it to the savior and be like, it's not serving me. Goodbye.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And then you're at where you can take your power back. And that's when you can make a different choice and take imperfect action.
Absolutely. And I think we've all probably heard that phrase, or something along the lines of, because I'm not going to quote it, perfect, but like, oh, well, like, you never know what's on the other side of this, say, trial or experience
Mm-hmm.
feeling that you're having. And I always looked at it and went, yeah, you're right. But then I looked at it too far. Like, well, the other side of it is I'll notice something in 10 years, like, or in next week. By then, I forgot. So, what I've really experienced is to, once you step yourself into that power that you have, listen now, 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 now. Like, because I will tell you that I know, at least for me, and having talked to other people, I know others have experienced this as well. That you get to that place where, okay, like I crossed that boundary, right? Then you might go, okay, what do I do? Right? Just listen.
Yeah,
He's going to
exactly.
tell you way sooner than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I will have like particular experience where it's like, okay, I'm feeling this. I know what this is. I know this feeling. Don't want to hold it anymore. This is gone. I'm going to put the music on, put myself in my space of power. Now I need to listen. And to me, that listening can be different than what traditionally might be looked at as. Because I was always like, well, if God's going to tell me something, I need to be in this room. It's light, quiet. And it's all this. It's like, no, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It's, I need to be in a space that is quiet from interruption from someone else that can stop me.
Mm-hmm. Distraction.
So for me, it's like something where I'm on autopilot. I've been driving a car and had my license for over 20 years. I'll drive my car. I'll have the music on. There it is. Now listen. You're going to tell me.
Mm-hmm. Right, because you can get it from. Mm-hmm.
As soon as I can stop, write it down.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we got just a couple more minutes here. So let's just reiterate what you're talking about with radical self-care. And I have, is it okay if I share what I wrote down for you?
Of course, please do.
So it's listening to music that touches you, that inspires and uplifts you, talking to enlightening and uplifting things, listening to talks that are uplifting and enlightening, dancing, moving your body, laughing, taking back your personal power by not taking things personally, ask what if questions, so step into curiosity, creation and being present. So as you step into curiosity, you step into the creation power. And then getting out of your comfort zone, even if it's just a little bit, lean into the discomfort, right? Listen and take action. And those are all amazing, incredible, radical self-care activities that are outside of the normal, go take a nap or, read a book or get your fingers done or your hair done or whatever those look like, which those are not bad things.
Oh, not at all.
But these get you to the next level, which is why it's called radical self-care. And I love the story that you're sharing. And Philip has a offer that he would like to give all listeners, those that are here live and those that listen to this later. So what's your offer?
So in asking myself some of those what ifs, I went and I jumped into that curiosity and was able to go, what a few years ago, when I'm first kind of getting into this personal development, I want to help people kind of world, what could have helped me then? And I thought to myself, well, I wanted people to see me and what I did. But all the opportunities I saw there were like, okay, come speak on this stage for 30 minutes and it'll cost you $1,500. Like, I didn't even have $1,500 to give them at that point. I'm like, well, that doesn't work. And I thought, what if I had a stage, my very own, that people could go back and find it, see what people have said over time. Because that's one of the things, if you're speaking on stage in person, you're about limited to, hey, people that are there in the audience and who has the recording. Mm-hmm. That's who's going to see what you said. And I thought, what if I created a stage where you can watch it while it's happening? Or you could look later in the day and go, oh man, Alicia was on there today. I got to go watch this. I got to see what she said. So I created a group. It's on Facebook. We also broadcast to several different places, based upon what the person speaking needs are. And it's called Studio Spotlight 9, so we're going to have a link that will be posted for everybody to go check out the group. And you're seriously going to be able to go through this group and look at it and see some of the amazing people that have already appeared. And I have 2 people coming up next week that I haven't officially announced who they are yet, but tell you, awesome people. And just come on there and check out what some of these people are up to and what they're doing and creating in their own life. The group is absolutely free to join. It's on Facebook. The link's going to be posted for everyone to have. Just check it out. And the cool thing about this is, if you check it out and you look at it and you go, dang, this is awesome, I kind of want to do this, then that's when you're probably going to want to reach out to me and say, hey, I want to be featured. And that's not free, but that's stuff you find out more about in the group. So my offer to you is you get to look at it, you get to check out this group, and there's no restriction on anything of, hey, you have to pay this to see this. Nope, you're part of the group, you get to see it. And I would bet a lot of people are going to be like, hey, I know that person. I know that person. Oh, this person's new. I wonder what they're doing. Like, just see all the amazing things that some people that have gotten into that, hey, I'm creating now, space looks like. So that's my offer to everybody. Seriously, go check it out, join the group, and see what some amazing people are doing.
Awesome. Well, we do have still a couple more minutes. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and feel free to take yourself off of mute. If you're rewatching this, then put the questions in the comments, or you're welcome to message me or message Philip, and we'll answer those questions for you about radical self-care or anything else that you may have come up as you're listening to this. So does anybody have any questions right now? Or comments?
I do. This is
awesome.
Chip. I was going to ask Phil, where can we find your book?
Oh, you can find
you did mention that you had your book out.
Yes.
That's kind of about this whole thing.
Yeah, you can find my book through Amazon.
What's it called?
It's called 2 Lessons from Transplant. So not the number 2, but the word, TWO. And it's honestly a very short book. It's about 40 pages, where someone's like a seasoned reader, like, and you got about half an hour, you can get through this book. Like, it's quick, because I had a professor when I was in college, she told me, don't waste a single word in anything you are writing. Make everything mean something. Everything has a purpose. Don't fluff stuff, no filler, just to the point. So it's pretty short. It's called 2 Lessons from Transplant. You can find it on Amazon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? All right. Well, if you do find that you have questions later, like I said, don't hesitate to leave a comment or get a hold of me or Philip. His link for his offer will be in the repost of this, as well as I'll put the name of the book in there too, so you guys can get a hold of that as well. All right. Well, Philip, thank you so much for sharing your story and your expertise and just being able to give us some extra ideas on radical self-care. And you have a beautiful day, everybody. Thanks again for joining us.
See you, everybody.